Hi students, today I am going to deal with the second unit of analytical and biomedical instrumentation. This chapter name is analyzers. In this I am going to deal with the subtopic analyzers and flame photometers. Analyzers and flame photometers. Upon completion of this presentation, you will be able to understand the definition of an analyzer, the necessity of analyzers, flame photometer, the block diagram of flame photometer, construction, working principle of flame photometer, and the applications of flame photometer. Upon completion of this presentation, you will be able to understand the definition of an analyzer, the necessity of an analyzer, about the instrument's flame photometry, its block diagram of flame photometer, the construction features of flame photometer, working principle of flame photometer, and applications of flame photometer. Applications of flame photometer. Analyzer. The definition of an analyzer. Analyzer is an instrument which has the capacity for selective determination of chemical compositions or called analyzers. The instruments which have the capacity for selective determination of chemical compositions are called analyzers. Analyzers are nothing but the instruments which have the capacity for selective determination of chemical compositions in a sample. The necessity of an analyzer. Analyzer is an instrument which is designed to measure different chemicals and other characteristics in a number of biological samples quickly with minimum number of assistance effort to protect the health and safety of laboratory staff. That has many manufacturers to develop analyzers that feature closed tube sampling, preventing from direct exposure to the sample. Analyzer is an instrument which is designed to measure different chemicals and their characteristics in a number of biological samples very quickly without much effort. You can test the samples very quickly without much effort, and it protects the health and safety of the laboratory staff, and it has many manufacturers to develop analyzers that feature closed tube sampling, preventing from direct exposure to the sample. That prevents direct exposure to the sample. So this is the need of an analyzer. Coming to the concept of flame photometry. Coming to the concept of flame photometry. Flame photometry, more accurately called as flame atomic emission spectrometry, is a branch of spectroscopy in which the species examined in the spectrometer are in form of atoms. The species that are examined in the spectrometer are in the form of atoms. Flame photometry, also called as flame atomic emission spectrometry, is a branch of spectroscopy in which the species examined in the spectrometer are in the form of atoms. As we have studied earlier about atomic spectroscopy and molecular spectroscopy, where the interaction of radiation with the atoms of the sample. The same principle is used here. Atomic emission spectrometry is used in flame photometry. A photoelectric flame photometer is an instrument which is used in inorganic chemical analysis, to determine the concentration of certain metal ions, among them sodium, potassium, calcium and lithium. These are the different metal ions which can determine the concentration of these metal ions. So it is an instrument which is used in inorganic chemical analysis to determine the concentration of certain metal ions. Mostly these metallic ions are sodium, potassium, calcium and lithium. Flame photometry is based on measurement of intensity of the light emitted when a metal is introduced into a flame. You have a sample. That sample contains several metals. So if that sample is introduced into the flame, you are going to measure the intensity of the light emitted when the metal is heated or when metal is introduced into the flame. This is the basic concept of flame photometry. The wavelength of the color tells what the element is. So it gives the qualitative analysis. It gives the qualitative analysis of the sample and as well as the quantitative analysis of the sample. How do you find the quantitative analysis? Qualitative analysis is by the wavelength of the color we can identify what the element is. So it is a qualitative analysis. When coming to the quantitative analysis, the color's intensity tells us how much of the element is present in the sample. So you can know the concentration of the sample. So based on the intensity of the color that the radiation is being emitted, it will tell us how much of the element is present in the sample. So this is a qualitative analysis, quantitative analysis. So it can be used for both qualitative and quantitative analysis. In the qualitative analysis, by measuring the wavelength of the color, it tells us the element that is being present in the sample, and by knowing the color intensity, it tells us how much of the sample is present. It tells us the quantity of the sample, the concentration of the sample. Okay, so this is the basic fundamental principle of any flame photometry. The basic principle upon which atomic spectroscopy works is based on the fact that matter absorbs light at the same wavelength at which it emits light. So the matter, it absorbs the light at the same wavelength at which it emits light, So in flame photometry, atoms of the element, when they are subjected to hot flame, specific quantum of thermal energy absorbed by the orbital electrons become unstable at high energy levels. They release energy as photons of particular wavelength and they change back to the ground state. Okay. When the atoms of the element are excited, when the sample is introduced into the flame, when it is subjected to hot flame, what happens? The sample takes up the thermal energy, it absorbs the thermal energy, and the electrons in its orbitals become unstable. They go to the higher energy state, and as they are unstable in that higher energy state, they want to come back to their original state. So in that process, they release energy in the form of photons of particular wavelength, and then they change back to their ground state. So when a metal, salt or a solution is burned, the metal provides a colored flame, and each metal ion gives a different colored flame. Okay. The color of the flame is different for different elements. So thereby you can understand, or you can find out the element, which element, based upon the color you can find out which element is present in that sample. So when the metal salt solution is burned, the metal provides a colored flame, and each metal ion gives a different colored flame. Flame test therefore can be used to test for the absence or presence of metal ions. So flame test will, when the color of the flame changes, it will tell you the presence or absence of a metal ion. It will tell you the presence or absence of a metal ion. The flame test will indicate the presence or absence of a metal ion. Coming to the basic concepts of flame photometry. Liquid sample containing metal salt solution is introduced into a flame. Solvent is first vaporized, leaving particles of solid salt, which is then vaporized into gaseous state. So you take a liquid sample. When a liquid sample is taking, that sample is containing metal salt solution. When this is introduced into a flame, the metal salt solution, as it is called the solvent, the solvent is first evaporated. It is vaporized, leaving particles of solid salt, which is then vaporized into gaseous state. Gaseous molecules dissociate to give neutral atoms which can be excited by thermal energy of the flame. So when these first a solvent, when it is vaporized, then you are left with solid salt, okay, particles. Then when these get vaporized, they change into gaseous state. So when these gaseous molecules dissociate to give neutral atoms which can be excited or which are made unstable by thermal energy of the flame. The unstable excited atoms, they cannot stay in that unstable state for a longer time. So they begin to, based on the law of conservation of energy, these atoms which are unstable, they emit photons while returning back to the lower energy state. From the excited state, they come back to the lower state, ground state. So in that process, they emit photons, they emit radiation, they emit packets of energy called photons while returning to the lower energy state. So the measurement of emitted photons form the basis of flame photometry. The measurement of emitted photons form the basis of flame photometry. So flame photometry is based on the measurement of emitted photons. How many photons are emitted? That much of light intensity is produced. So thereby you can find out the concentration of the sample. And by knowing the color of the flame, you can understand which element is present when we compare with the standards. So this is the basic concept of flame photometry. Under constant and controlled conditions, the light intensity of the characteristic wavelength produced by each of the atoms is directly proportional to the number of atoms that are emitting energy, which in turn is directly proportional to the concentration of the substance of interest in the sample. As I told you earlier, when everything is under controlled conditions, the intensity of the light of the characteristic wavelength produced by each of the atom is directly proportional to the number of atoms that are emitting energy, which in turn is directly proportional to the concentration of the substance of interest in the sample. If the concentration is more, the number of atoms that are excited are more, so more energy is emitted. When more energy is emitted, the concentration of the elements in that sample are more. Thereby you can know the concentration of the substance. Various metals emit a characteristic color of light when they are heated. Various metals emit a characteristic color of light when they are heated. What are those characteristic color? Like most of them, this flame photometry is most commonly used for identification of 5 elements. Most commonly used elements: sodium, Na, potassium, K, barium, Ba, calcium, Ca, and lithium. Sodium, potassium, barium, calcium, and lithium. So Sodium wavelength is 589 nanometers, and its color, when the flame color is yellow in color, we can identify that sodium atom is present. Sodium ion is present. Sodium element is present. Then when we come to the case of potassium, its wavelength is 766 nanometers and the flame color is violet in color. So when violet color is emitted in the flame, when the flame color is violet, it indicates potassium is present in the solution. Similarly, when barium is present, its wavelength is 554 nanometers and it is lime green in color. Lime green in color. When calcium is present, its wavelength is 662 nanometers and orange color appears in the flame. Orange color. Calcium is present. When the color of the flame is red in color, then it is the element present in the sample is lithium. The element present in the sample is lithium, whose wavelength is 670 nanometers. So these are the 5 basic elements which are most commonly identified using flame photometry, because the colors of these elements are very, very specific. You are using to identify the elements sodium, potassium, barium, calcium, lithium. So many are there. Even other elements also you can identify. These are the most commonly used elements. For identification of these commonly used elements, where sodium you have an yellow color, potassium the color of the flame is violet, and barium the color of the flame is lime green, and calcium the color of the flame is orange, and lithium the color of the flame is red color. So based upon the flame color, you can identify the element present in the sample. Then coming to the structure of the flame, we must be the flame structure is very important in flame photometry. As seen in the figure there, you are able to see the figure. The figure contains a burner, a flame is being produced. So the flame has several zones. It is divided into following zones or regions, in other words they are called. First one is the preheating zone. Preheating zone. Then we have the primary reaction zone or the inner zone. Then the internal zone, and then the outer one, the outer flame containing secondary reaction zone. So first one is the preheating zone, the preheating zone. Second one is your primary reaction zone or inner zone, primary reaction zone or inner zone. Third one is the internal zone, and fourth one is the secondary reaction zone, secondary reaction zone. This is the structure of the flame. So it is divided into 4 zones. As seen in the figure, the flame may be of 4 zones. What are they? The preheating zone, primary reaction zone, internal zone and secondary reaction zone. Internal zone and secondary reaction zone. Secondary reaction zone. Then so what is the first zone? The preheating zone it is called. It is called the preheating zone. In the preheating zone, in this zone, combustion mixture is heated to ignition temperature by thermal conduction from the primary reaction zone. So where combustion mixture is heated to the ignition temperature, where your ignition starts. Combustion is the process of burning. So combustion mixture is heated to the ignition temperature by thermal conduction from the primary reaction zone. The next one is your primary reaction zone. This zone is about 0.1 mm thick at atmospheric pressure. There is no thermodynamic equilibrium in this zone. and the concentration of the ions and free radicals is very high. This region is not used for flame photometry. Then the most important zone is the interconal zone. Interconal zone, it can extend up to considerable height. The maximum temperature is achieved just above the tip of the inner zone. Just above the tip of the inner zone is your interconal zone. This zone is used for flame photometry. So we are using the interconal zone for flame photometry, where it can the maximum temperature is achieved here. The maximum temperature is achieved here. Then your secondary reaction zone. Secondary reaction zone. In this zone, the products of the combustion process are burnt. The products of the combustion process are burnt to stable molecular species by the surrounding air. Secondary reaction zone is the zone where the products of combustion process are burnt to stable molecular species by the surrounding air. By the surrounding air. Then the block diagram of flame photometry. Flame photometry consists of three basic blocks. The first one is your emission system. The emission system consists of the sample and the glasses and the atomizer all together forms the emission system. The second one is your optical system, and the third one is the detection and display system. Detection system and display system. Okay, the first block, a combination of the gases and the sample, the types of gases. It may be either a gas or a liquid sample or a sample solution. So the emission phase, emission system is the first part. It is divided into three blocks: emission system, the optical system, and the detection system. So emission system consists of the gases and the sample, and you have an atomizer in the emission system. Then the optical system, then the detection system consisting detection and amplification, where you're using a signal conditioner to condition your signal. It may be either amplification of the signal or integration, or it may be attenuation of your signal to the desired levels, and then measuring and recording system. We have the measuring and the recording system. So this is a schematic diagram of a flame photometer. The schematic diagram of a flame photometer. You can observe in the figure the major components that are present in a flame photometer. The first phase is your flame. So flame is very important. So then we have the sample delivery system. The sample must be burnt in the flame. Okay. So the first part is your sample delivery system. Then the second one is your source. Third one is the monochromator. Fourth one is the detector. It may be a phototube or a photodetector or a photodiode or a photomultiplier. Then the last one is your readout device. The last one is your readout device, where the signal from the transducer, if it is a weak signal, it is amplified and given to the readout device. So the major components of a flame photometer are: the flame photometer consists of a sample delivery system, it consists of a source, it consists of a monochromator, it consists of a detector and readout device. So when we see the constructional features of a flame photometer has three external parts. As I told you earlier, the constructional features of a flame photometer are: it comprises of three external parts. The first one is the emission system, second one is the optical system, third one is the recording system. The first one is the emission system, second one is the optical system, third one is the recording system. So these are the constructional features of a flame photometer. It consists of three external parts: emission system, optical system and recording system. Coming to the emission system. Emission system. Emission system consists of fuel gases and regulators. Fuel gases, the gases which are used for burning. Your sample must be burned to produce the flame. Okay, fuel gases and regulator, pressure regulators we have. And then the second part of the emission system is your atomizer. Then we have the burner and the flame. Fuel gases and the regulator, atomizer, burner and flame. Burner and flame. In the emission system comprises of four components: the fuel gas and the regulator. So acetylene or hydrogen or propane is mixed with oxygen at a pressure of 12 to 15 pounds per square inch. 12 to 15 pounds per square inch. So you are using acetylene or hydrogen or propane gases. They are called the fuel gases. When they are mixed with oxygen, they begin to burn. And a pressure of 12 to 15 pounds per square inch. Then we have the atomizer. The atomizer consists of a sprayer and the atomization chamber. The atomizer consists of a sprayer and an atomization chamber where the aerosol, breaking of large mass of liquid into small droplets, is called an aerosol. Where the aerosol is produced and fed into the flame. The main heart of your flame photometer is the atomizer. The atomizer consists of a sprayer and atomization chamber where the aerosol is produced and fed into the flame. Then your burner. The burner receives a mixture of combustion gases and burned in the burner. It consists of the mixture of all the combustion gases and they are burned in the burner. The flame is the true source of radiation. As you know, in any chemical, any analytical instrument, the fundamental block is your chemical information source. So here the flame is your source of emission. It is the source of emission. As we depend upon atomic emission spectroscopy, the flame is the true source of emission here. The flame is the true source of emission here. So coming to the next, in the emission system, the atomizer. What is an atomizer? It is the heart of the flame photometer. Atomizer consists of a sprayer and the automation chamber. It has an automation chamber. In the atomizer chamber, aerosol is produced. Aerosol is nothing but forming of breakup of large mass of molecules, large mass of liquids into small droplets. Large mass of liquids into small droplets. You are going to convert them into small droplets. Large mass of liquid into small droplets, where that is called an aerosol. The aerosol is fed into the flame. Atomizers are of two types: internal burner and spray type. So atomizer is a heart of the flame photometer. It consists of a sprayer and the automation chamber. The atomizer chamber, aerosol in the atomization chamber, the aerosol is produced. Aerosol is nothing but breaking up of large mass of the molecule of a liquid into smaller drops. These aerosols are fed into the flame. They are fed into the flame. Atomizers are of two types. The first one is the internal burner and the second one is the spray type. These are the two types of atomizers. So the emission system consists of, as I told you earlier, the emission system, what does it consist? It consists of fuel gases and regulators to maintain the flow rate of the fuel gases. Then we have the atomizer to produce the aerosol. Then we have the burner. The burner receives a mixture of the combustion gases and burned in the burner, and the sample is burned in the burner. The flame, it is the true source of information. It is the true source of emission. True source of emission. So the next phase, after the flame is produced, what is the next part of your system, of your photometer, flame photometer? It is nothing but the optical system. So the optical system consists of optical components like filters, monochromators, lenses, diaphragms, slits. Okay, all these together form up the optical system. This optical system is used for wavelength selection. For what purpose we are using the optical system? The optical system is used for wavelength selection. Filters and monochromators, then lenses, we have diaphragms, we have slits. All these form the optical system. As we have earlier studied, here we are going to use the filter. Interference filter is used in flame photometer. And the monochromator is prism. We have prism and the grating, but here in this application we are using prism as a monochromator. Prism is used as a monochromator. So the optical system, it is used for wavelength selection. It is used for wavelength selection. So which is possible by using either a filter, it may be an interference filter, or it may be a monochromator, prism or grating. Here we are using prism as a monochromator. Prism as a monochromator. The third external component or external part of an spectroflame photometer. The third component, the first one is the emission system, second one is your optical system, and the third one is your recording system. In the recording system, it includes detectors like photodetectors are most commonly used. So the detectors used here are either photocells or phototubes, photomultipliers, or electronic means of and you are also using the electronic means of amplification and measuring and recording. So all these together consists of recording system or the data presentation system, data recording system, data display system. You can call it as the display system also. So the recording system comprises of your detector. You need a detector which is a photodetector, and the output of the detector may be very weak, so it needs to be signal conditioned. The signal must be conditioned using it can be amplified using an amplifier. Then after the signal is conditioned, it is sent to the display device. The display device is nothing but a readout device, which may be either it can be either a CRO or a strip chart recorder, or it can be anything, or a pointer moving over a calibrated scale, analog meter, it can be a digital meter. Okay, so this is your recording system. Coming to the working of the flame photometer. Coming to the working of the flame photometer. A solution of the sample to be analyzed is prepared. First you need to prepare the solution of the sample that is to be analyzed. After preparing the solution, a special sprayer, it is nothing but an atomizer, operated by compressed air or oxygen, is used to introduce this solution in the form of a fine spray called aerosol, and the aerosol fuel into the flame of the burner, operating on some fuel gas like acetylene or hydrogen. Okay, when this aerosol is sent into the flame begins to burn the sample. Okay, the burner works on some fuel gases like acetylene or hydrogen. The radiation when the sample begins to burn in the flame, it emits radiation. The radiation emitted by the flame is separated by means of light filters or a monochromator. You can use an interference filter or a monochromator, which is a prism, which we use in this case. Okay, so when we get the radiant energy that is being emitted by the flame, it can be separated by means of a filter or a monochromator. The intensity of the isolated radiation is measured when it falls on the photodetector. It is measured as current. It is converted into photocurrent. So the current produced in the photocell. So by measuring the current with the help of a galvanometer, the reading you can understand, you can know the quantity by the amount of current flowing through the external circuit, you can understand the concentration of the element in the sample. If more the deflection in the galvanometer, more the concentration of the element in the sample. So what you are doing, you are taking the solution of the sample that is to be analyzed. First you have to prepare the solution of the sample. Then after that it must be you are going to use an atomizer. Atomizer is a special sprayer operated by a compressed air or oxygen, which is used to introduce this solution. Which solution? The sample solution under test in the form of a fine spray, that is called aerosol. The aerosol fuel into the flame of a burner operating on some fuel gas like acetylene or hydrogen. The radiation emitted by the flame is separated by means of light filters or a monochromator. The intensity of the isolated radiation is measured from the current it produces when it falls on a photocell. The measurement of the current is done with the help of a galvanometer. The galvanometer readings are proportional to the concentration of the element. The galvanometer readings are proportional to the concentration of the element. This is the working principle of a flame photometer. The working principle of a flame photometer. Coming to the applications of flame photometer. The applications of flame photometer. Flame photometer is used to estimate, as I told you, sodium, potassium, calcium, barium, lithium, etc. Their levels in a sample of serum or urine or CSF and other body fluids. You can use for analysis of presence of sodium, potassium, calcium, lithium, etc. and the level of their levels in the sample of urine or serum for biological studies. They are useful for determination of alkali and alkaline earth metals. They are used in determination of lead in petrol. They are used in study of equilibrium constants involving in ion exchange resins. They are used in study of equilibrium constants involving in ion exchange resins. And they are also used in determination of calcium and magnesium in cement. You can identify the percentage of calcium and magnesium in cement. These are some of the applications of flame photometry. Okay, so to summarize what we have learned today, we have understood the concept of the definition of an analyzer, the necessity of an analyzer. Why do we need an analyzer? You have studied about the flame photometer, the block diagram of flame photometer, the construction details and working principle of a flame photometer, and the applications of flame photometer. So to define what is an analyzer is an instrument which have the capacity for selective determination of chemical compositions. It is an instrument which is used for selective determination of chemical compositions. Why do we need an analyzer? An analyzer is used to measure different chemicals and their characteristics in a large number of biological samples very quickly with less effort. That is why we are using an analyzer. And to protect the health and safety of the laboratory staff, Many manufacturers have developed analyzers that features closed tube samplings, preventing from direct exposure to the sample. So analyzers are helpful. They provide safety for laboratory personnel who are using them when they are testing. Okay. Then coming to the flame photometer. Flame photometer is a branch of flame photometry, is a branch of spectroscopy in which specimens are examined in the spectrometer or in the form of atoms. They work on the principle of flame atomic emission spectroscopy. So photoelectric flame photometers is an instrument which is used in inorganic chemical analysis to determine the concentration of certain metal ions like sodium, potassium, calcium and lithium. So flame photometry is based on measurement of intensity of light emitted when a metal is introduced into the flame. So the wavelength of the color of the flame gives you the qualitative analysis of the sample or the element, and the concentration of the sample, that is nothing but quantitative analysis is done by measuring the intensity of the light, intensity of the color. So under constant controlled conditions, the light intensity of the characteristic wavelength produced by each of the atoms is directly proportional to the number of atoms that are emitting the energy, which in turn is directly proportional to the concentration of the substance of interest. Based on the color, you can identify the metals or the elements present in the sample. If it is yellow color, sodium, it represents sodium. Violet color, then it represents potassium. Lime green color, it represents barium. Orange color, it represents calcium. And red color, it represents lithium. Then we have studied about the structure of the flame. It has three regions: preheating zone, primary reaction zone or the inner zone. Then we have the internal zone we have. Then we have the secondary reaction zone. The internal zone is most important zone. The internal zone is the zone where the flame photometry is used. Okay, maximum temperature is achieved in this internal zone. Then we know the basic block diagram of a flame photometer. We have the emission system, we have the optical system, we have the detection system. The basic components, the basic constructional features of a flame photometer are: it has three external parts, that is the emission system, we have the optical system and the recording system. In the emission system, we have it consists of fuel, gases and regulators, atomizers, burner and flame. Atomizers, burner and flame. Fuel, gases and regulators, we most commonly use acetylene or hydrogen or propane when it is mixed with oxygen at a pressure of 12 to 15 pounds per square inch. That is used as fuel, gases and regulator. Atomizer consists of a sprayer and an atomization chamber where the aerosol is produced and it is fed into the flame. Aerosol means breaking of large molecules of the sample into tiny droplets. That is called aerosol. Then the burner receives the mixture of the fuel gas and the sample, and where it is burned, where the combustion gases and the sample gets burned. The flame is the true source of emission. Flame is the true source of emission. So the heart of your flame photometer is your atomizer. Atomizer is the heart of the flame photometer. It is nothing but it consists of a sprayer and an atomization chamber where the aerosol is produced. Aerosol is nothing but breaking up of large mass of a liquid into small droplets. These aerosols are fed into the flame. Then your recording system, then coming to the next system is your optical system after the emission system. The optical system is used for wavelength selection. So you are going to use either the filters or monochromators. Filters, we are going to use the interference filter. most commonly used filter is the interference filter, and in monochromators the most commonly used monochromator is prism. So they are used for wavelength selection. Then coming to the recording system, we have the detector, that is the photodetector. It can be either a photocell or a phototube or a photomultiplier tube, along with the combination of an amplifier, electronic circuitry, which may be an amplifier to condition your signal. And then you measure and record the output. Measure and record the output using the display devices. So how the flame photometer works? Flame photometer is used to simultaneously detect and display the ions to accurately determine the concentration of the ions present in a given substance. It works by measuring the intensity of the light emitted when the element is exposed to the flame. Okay. The flame photometer, it consists of the atomizer, it consists of the flame, it consists of the fuel gases and regulator. Then we have the atomizer, the mixing chamber is there. Then we have the filters and the monochromators are used, and the photodetector. These are the basic components of a flame photometer. How does it work? Flame photometer process, the substance you are testing, if it is using the atomizer, if the spray of that sample is sent into the flame, the solution evaporates, the sample becomes atoms. It is in the aqueous solution. Now the solution, when it is placed in the nebulizer or the atomization chamber, it becomes atoms. These atoms excite after they absorb heat from the flame. When these atoms run back to the normal state, because they cannot stay in that state as it is an unstable state, so they come back to the normal state. During that process, they emit radiation. Light energy is emitted. This radiation of specific wavelength will be emitted. The intensity of the light, when it is measured and by using the light detectors, and you can identify the color of the ions also, the intensity of the flame, the color of the light can be identified by observing the flame. If it is a sodium metal ion present in the solution, then the flame color is yellow. Then this will give you the qualitative analysis of the sample. And if you are going for if you want to measure the concentration of the sample, you can measure the intensity of the light radiation falling on the detector. So thereby you can know both the qualitative and quantitative analysis of the sample. Qualitative and quantitative analysis of the sample. And lastly, we have studied about the applications of flame photometers. Flame photometers are used to estimate sodium, potassium, calcium, lithium, barium. These are the 5 ions which are most commonly analyzed. You can know their levels in the sample of urine or serum or other body fluids, and they are used for determination of alkali and alkaline earth metals. They are used in the determination of lead in petrol. They are used in the determination of lead in petrol. Then they are used in the study of equilibrium constants involving in ion exchange resins. Then they are used in determination of calcium and magnesium in cement. So these are the various applications of flame photometer.